Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Instead of making a big turkey dinner, we decided to make some lotion. So, we're going to make some lotion. So, Kimberly, what do we have here?
Well, we have some calendula oil. So this is olive oil that I put calendula blossoms in and let that infuse into the oil. And then I have some chickweed oil. And then here is a water infusion with lavender.
So let's see here. So just to cover, the calendula oil was made, the blossoms were put in all in the jar, filled up fresh, and then used olive oil, did a standard infused, let it go 6 weeks, right?
I don't know. With calendula, sometimes I don't let it go that long. Just checking it pretty regularly to see if it's done. And when it turns this beautiful golden color and the blossoms seem to be losing their color, then I go ahead and strain it.
Go ahead and strain it. Okay. Same kind of process with the chickweed oil. If you have the herbal kit, you know it's all listed back there. Just so we do nothing tricky here. Just your deal with chickweed. We have a separate calendula. And then this here again, this
is a lavender infusion.
How'd you do that?
Usually when I do an infusion, I do an ounce of herb to a quart of water. So I did a ½ ounce of lavender flowers to a pint of boiling water and let it sit for at least 4 hours. And
you put the flowers in first and then covered it with the boiling water in the jar and let it sit for
at least 4 hours.
4 hours. Half a jar of flowers.
Half an ounce
of flowers.
Then filled to the top of the pint jar with boiling water.
And let it sit for 4 hours and you strained it. Okay, so I just wanted to be clear that we have these. Now, normally just you find do this with the calendula oil, but apparently you just needed another 1/4 ounce.
Well, I'm at about 1 3/4 cups maybe of oil there.
So you need a little more. So in this case we're in a little improvisation. So we're adding a little chickweed just to fill it up. We just happen to have this oil too. Complementary oil, nice cooling, anti-inflammatory. So we're just going to, that's the reason why we're using that chickweed there, though we probably could have just gotten away with not even telling you about it. But hey, it's good just to learn a little bit of improv here. Sometimes you just make do with what you got. And what else do we have here? Some beeswax?
This is some beeswax.
2 ounces of beeswax. And of course we have these little neat little 1 ounce blocks because we put them with our kit. But any kind of beeswax, fine. The nice trick is if you can get a big brick of beeswax, right, from some of your local beekeepers, and you can crack that with a hammer, put it in a bag and crack it open with a hammer, and then you can get nice easy chips that you can weigh on your scale to be an ounce. But in this case we have 2 ounces because we have 2 cups of oil. What usually it's the same as the salve ratio, isn't it? Salve ratio being 1 ounce of wax by weight to 1 cup of oil by volume. We're just doubling it here. So really, we're just kind of prepping to make the same kind of salve that you did in the herbal medicine making kit almost. And we have our familiar double boiler going over here because the first step we have to do is what, Kimberly?
Melt the beeswax.
Melt the beeswax. So we're going to go on over. This looks familiar, right, from the DVD with the kit. So nothing new here as we get ready to make our lotion. And then we're just going to return here after that waxes. After that melts. Our wax is melted in our double boiler, our 2 ounces. So now we have our 2 cups of oil and...
I'm going to put it in there.
Yeah.
Watch the beeswax reform.
Yeah, that's always the fun part, right?
Love that color of the calendula oil.
Yeah. And just mixing that around. Really, I noticed you got out over here our Vitamix. This is our blender. Can you use any kind of blender?
You can use any kind of blender, yep.
Alright. So we just happen to have this Vitamix because it was a wedding gift. And it's a wonderful blender. It's like a blender on steroids. Alright, so we'll be getting to that in just a second. So this is all melted.
we're going to take it and put it in the blender.
We just put that back on the stove and not worry about that for the time being.
Now, our Vitamix has a lid like this that you can still add stuff through the top of it, but if you just are using a regular blender, just leave the lid off and turn it on very low speed.
Some blenders have something like this. You know, they have a little top sometimes.
This is the tricky part of making a lotion because you want to mix oil and water and they don't like to mix. So while the blender is going, you put the lavender infused oil in the top so that it will mix in really well.
Are you going to use all of this infusion?
No, I'm going to use 6 tablespoons of it.
6 tablespoons. She has, use one of these measuring spoons. 6 tablespoons in here, not the whole infusion, and she's adding it slowly. And this blender is, would you consider this on low?
This is on the lowest speed right now.
It's on the lowest speed right now. Now what are you doing?
I'm just going to keep blending it until it starts to sound like it's chunking up, and then that will be my clue to turn it off.
So your clue to turn it off is when it chunks up?
Yeah, it kind of, the blender will start to choke a little bit from my recollection.
So I guess everyone needs to get to know their individual blenders.
Yeah.
And how they're going to react.
This is a really intuitive process.
Okay.
And the 6 tablespoons is a place to start. That's really what my teacher said is for a cream. And if you want it to be less thick, you can add more water than that.
Okay, so if you want it to be less thick, you just add more water. Got it. I can already see that kind of looking a little kind of creamy. We lotioned it up, could add a little essential oil to it, like lavender or something, right? Mm-hmm. And that might give it a little more of a lavender scent than just using the lavender water. And of course, this is one way to make a lotion. There are other ways, right?
Yes. And last time I made lotion, I used a recipe from Rosemary Gladstar's book, The Family Herbal. She has a great recipe in there with using some different oils besides just the beeswax. You can use jojoba oil or coconut oil and different things.
Okay, so yeah, so this is just one way to do it, and then you can branch out and try other things. So this is looking like it's setting up fine, and then so when this cools, put nice lids on it, whatever, and then what about how long will these last?
Well, we've usually been storing ours in the refrigerator, and in the refrigerator they seem to last for 6 months or more. But I think if you were storing them out because they don't have any sort of preservative in it, probably wouldn't last more than a few weeks.
A few weeks? That's
my guess.
You know, when we have salves and lotion, we usually don't add anything else than what you see here. It's so simple. As you saw here, we had well, we doubled this recipe, but you see a cup of oil, you had some beeswax, and 6 tablespoons of water. So that was pretty darn simple, and we just like keeping it simple. Store it in the fridge. If you're just using it for yourself, that's good. That's great enough. Mm-hmm. All right, so.
And I really love the calendula oil. I had just really dry, cracked hands and feet this summer, and I was putting the calendula oil on every night, and totally took care of the cracking, and it's really nice. And
I've been using it too as well, and I find it really awesome. All right, so that is making a very simple lotion. Mm-hmm. And so, anything else we want to say, or is you never know how to end, you know? It's like, well, there we go.